Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. Please sit back, relax, and join Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick for an hour of entertaining information about HOAs and HOA law.
9:07, and guess who's back in studio at The Answer? Guess, you guys.
Everybody.
Yeah, the important people. The Saturday HOA Brunch,
the team
right?
is together again.
That's right. We talk about the industry that affects over 9 million Californians. What a big number, huh?
Is that why we're called the Saturday HOA Brunch? We want board members or anyone who's interested in community associations to be sitting there, eating their breakfast, listening to us, maybe
drinking
calling.
a mimosa. Yeah, exactly. Going, I want to buy in that HOA, but I don't know enough about an HOA. And then what do you do? Turn the dial to 1380 or download the iHeartRadio app, and what do you get? You get Viana Barbu. How are you, Viana?
I'm great. Happy Saturday.
And with over 20 years of experience, an industry expert in homeowners associations,
Good to
attorney
see you
Bradley
all.
Epstein.
Yeah.
Well, should we get the forecast for this beautiful Sacramento Saturday out of the way?
Better look out the window.
What do you got?
We got balmy.
It's going to be sunny and balmy.
I think that's actually our first accurate weather report.
Hey, exciting announcement. Any of our listeners that want to catch previous episodes,
How'd they do that?
www.thesaturdayhoabrunch.com. They're all on there, Viana. You said that's all you did last night was just catch up on old episodes.
Yep, I just wanted to hear myself talk.
Cool. All right, so we're the Saturday HOA Brunch. We talk about anything and everything regarding community associations, and we are fortunate enough to have this produced by a legend, Frank Jolly, who's on the sticks in the back.
You also want to do a shout out.
Shout-outs today. A couple of shout-outs. Our co-worker, Mr. Gardner Hensel, right? Deanna, we had a little discussion. He's got kind of an important event taking place this weekend.
Kind of an important event, I would say.
He is going to compete in the Escape from Alcatraz.
Yep, he's probably done with his swim right about now, and
I think it's
jumping on his
tomorrow.
bike.
I think it's tomorrow.
That's
What
right.
is
Oh,
it?
man.
What is it, you guys?
He's got like an 18-mile bike ride, a 1.5 mile swim from Alcatraz, and then like an 8-mile run.
Wow.
Yeah, so when he rolls into the office in a wheelchair on Monday, we'll make sure that we congratulate him again. But from your friends and coworkers, Gardner, we wish you luck.
Absolutely. Pretty impressive. I don't think anyone in this room could do it. Maybe, Viana, could you do that?
I can do half the swim. That's about it.
All right, excellent. We have another shout-out I want to give to our friends in Reno listening, Stephanie Kramer, the future Miss Stephanie Kramer and her friend Jen. And then I also want to give a shout-out to my little fishing buddy, Isaiah Pacus. Proud of him. He graduated preschool yesterday.
Pretty fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good friends with his dad, Ramon, and then he also welcomed his sister just recently into the world. So a couple of probably future board members. That's what he told the class yesterday at preschool graduation, is that he wanted to get on the board of directors someday in an HOA.
Oh, yeah.
Exciting stuff.
That is the neat thing about our show, though, and with computers nowadays. So people can listen to our show all the way out in the Bay Area. Wally, board member.
Wally is a class act.
Yeah,
Wally, call in today.
And we're going to get him on
talk.
the show. So we're going to put him on the show a couple times more. People enjoyed him and let us know that, and he's a natural.
34 years?
I think so.
Something like that?
Something like that. From the Bay Area.
From the Foster City area.
Been down in Santa Barbara, down in Reno. So it's because you could go right on your computer. Also, in addition to iHeart, you can also, Jonathan and Viana, can't you just go right and click on 1380?
Yeah,
and you
listen
click on
live.
that, and it just hits the play button. Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
And,
Okay.
and you could also call us and just get on the phone and talk to us directly. Call
yeah,
us at
if you want to call, yeah.
923-1380, KTKZ, the answer.
What's that number again, Viana?
888-923-1380. Call us, tell us about your HOA experiences, ask us questions. We want to hear from you.
And that will be answered, I believe, by our production engineer, illustrious secretary, Frank Jolly. So that's exciting.
Sergeant at Arms, Frank Jolly.
Right. So what are we talking about today? Election rules?
Is
right?
that it?
We're talking about election rules. The presidential election's coming up. We'll be talking all about the rules, not...
No, I
Yeah,
don't think so.
so election rules, that doesn't just mean for director elections. It's really across the board. Anything that owners vote on. So we'll be talking about that, from use of secret written ballots to when you don't have to, inspectors of election, all the ins and outs. This law came up in about 7 years ago, and it is something that boards have to deal with all the time. There's a couple of court cases. Before that, though...
Oh, man. Did anybody hear about that exciting story out of the Dallas area? Viana, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's probably the most exciting HOA story that I've heard in a while.
Crescent, Texas, and this was reported by USA Today. A gentleman in his homeowners association decided that he wanted to convert, I believe it's over 4,000 square foot home, into a swingers club.
But I think he's only doing that on the weekends. So, hey, it's only a part-time swingers club.
But he has a website, Naughty Neighbors. Unfortunately, the website right now is not up and running. But he has an occupancy limit of over 600. Could you imagine? A 4,000 square foot home on a Saturday night in the suburbs of Dallas. You and your kids are out on the back patio roasting marshmallows, and you look over, and what's going on? Just a bunch of swingers partying it up around a fire pit.
It's a commercial endeavor. He was making money, $75 a couple.
$75 a head to get in.
That's pretty cheap, right?
That,
I mean,
don't know.
I don't know how much these things
know?
go for.
Well, if it was a twofer, right? So is that the couple's discount? So the neighbor, he says, we noticed it at the beginning of the year. The parties were more frequent, and the cops kept showing up. So the board of directors did a little investigation, and the board president decided, we probably ought to shut down this 4,000 square foot swingers club that had a swimming pool, fire pit, and stripper pole installed on the property.
So the board of directors would have to look to the CC&Rs and what kind of provisions in the CC&Rs would prohibit a commercial endeavor like a swingers club in a community association. I could name a few, right? The must use the association for only residential purposes.
Yeah, no businesses.
No businesses
are allowed.
And how about the offensive misconduct, the nuisance provision, Viana?
Right. So it probably would cause a nuisance. Some of the neighbors said that they saw almost up to 85 cars in and out of the community.
What about the corruption?
Parking? What about the parking prohibitions?
The corruption of youth in the community provision. Is that a provision that you've seen in
Never
rules
heard
of
of
governing?
I'm not sure most CC&Rs have that provision, but we should put it in.
I might be reinventing the wheel here.
But parking, probably no parking on streets or too many parking on the streets. But that catch-all provision that almost every CC&Rs has, it's a really good provision. It's nuisance, offensive misconduct. It's the catch-all. Good one.
So look, that obviously this is going to be an issue, and this community is probably going to have a huge lawsuit. I don't know how much of a fight the owner of this residence is going to be able to put up. Unfortunately, if you were already logging on to Expedia to get your tickets to fly out to Texas because you wanted to swing away in an HOA, it's been shut down as of late.
That should be our new show motto: swing away in an HOA.
Swing away in an HOA, but it's been shut down as of late. We're going to get ready to go to our first break.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to talk about the Maxwell Maxim, though.
The Maxwell Maxim?
Yeah, the tail wags the dog.
The tail wags the dog.
Right.
Well, we'll get
Attorney's
to that.
Fees.
Well, here we go. Election rules, right? The tail wags the dog. When we come back with our second quarter, we're going to jump right into election rules. We hope that you will keep the dial at 1380. The Answer.
2 little tablets is all it takes to make your thin hair feel and look thicker and fuller, guaranteed. Viviscal is the #1 drug-free hair growth supplement in the U.S., with 1 box being sold every minute globally. It's clinically researched to promote existing hair growth for men and women, and now a 90-day supply of Viviscal is offered in your area risk-free plus free shipping. Call 800-884-1759. Viviscal nourishes thinning hair from within. You'll love your hair growth results, guaranteed. Viviscal is so effective, it's recommended by top doctors. Here's Dr. Grant Stevens, board-certified plastic surgeon.
I feel confident recommending Viviscal to women with hair loss, thinning hair, or even dry or brittle hair. It's 100% drug-free, and it's backed by years of clinical research.
Want to try Viviscal? Every listener that calls now gets a 90-day risk-free supply plus free shipping. Call now, 800-884-1759. 800-884-1759. That's 800-884-1759.
If you're your community association has a good relationship with their current management company, you can stop listening. However, if you are struggling with your current service provider, we'd love to talk with you to see if Omni Community Management would be a good fit. Transparency, education, communication, and trust are just 4 of the qualities that set Omni apart. This is Rolf Crocker, CEO of Omni. Call us at 916-965-8964. That's 916-965-8964. Online at omni-mgt.com. That's omni-mgt.com. Omni Community Management, your friend in the community association management industry for over 20 years.
Have you ever heard of the saying, a person's home is their castle? Of course you have. But sometimes a construction defect can turn your castle into a catastrophe. If this happens to you, you need proper and professional representation. You need Angius&Terry, LLP. For over 30 years, the attorneys at Angius&Terry have been effectively serving homeowners and community associations, recovering more than $500 million on behalf of their clients. Angius&Terry strives to ensure that your construction defect claims are prosecuted in an aggressive and cost-effective manner. Angius&Terry will also continue to work with homeowners and community associations after the construction defect claims are concluded to make sure that the money received from builders is spent wisely and that your interests are protected during the repair process. Don't let a construction defect turn your castle into a catastrophe. Call Angius&Terry LLP today at 916-567-1400. That's 916-567-1400. Online at angius-terry.com. Angius&Terry LLP.
Did you see the story about the Homeowners Association? I wonder what their residents think.
I don't know, but I love my condominium association. The place looks great and is well managed, and our property values are increasing.
Well, that's a good thing.
Community Associations Institute, CAI, has helped us build a great community. They have tools for safeguarding our investment, including education for our board and professional training for our manager. Just visit CAI at responsiblecommunities.com.
Okay, responsiblecommunities.com.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry LLP. And now your hosts Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
And Bianna Barbu, we're cruising into the second quarter. The tail is wagging the dog. The Maxwell rule?
Maxim. Yeah,
like the magazine.
Right, because community associations, when they take action against homeowner, so for instance, in the last story we just talked about, where the association has to take action against a homeowner with a swingers club.
Maybe they need to listen to that website that they just mentioned in the Community Associations Institute at responsiblecommunities.com.
Yeah.
For the Naughty Neighbors Swingers Club.
Right. So if an association sues a homeowner, or vice versa, then the court can go ahead and impose as an award against the loser the attorney's fees that the association incurs. So if the association wins the lawsuit, the court shall award the association their attorney's fees incurred.
Question, what about the revenue that was brought in? So say he had, for 6 months, he was rolling. We had 100 people coming in a night, 3 nights a week, and he's got a nice chunk of change piled away in the safe. What's up with that money?
Let's put Vianna on the
spot
with that one. What do you think about that one?
I think they should build a new pool house with it for the entire community.
Yeah, they're actually working on probably some extra lighting and the dance floor.
I don't think that money is going to be forfeited.
That money will not be forfeited, she says. What do you think?
I agree.
You agree?
Vianna's a great attorney, and I don't think that there's a provision in the law that says that if you go against an owner in court with respect to the owner going ahead and having a commercial endeavor, that you can go ahead and court will order the owner to forfeit the amount of money that they earned in their commercial endeavor to the association.
Stacks of $1
bills. You could
bills.
find the owner, right? You could find the owner. Special individual assessments.
That's what they did. I believe they began levying fines against the owner.
Frank Jolly is out of control, just to let you know.
He is. Yeah. He is right now.
He's very intrigued by the story, I believe.
He's had a couple cups of coffee, but that's all right. So I have another exciting announcement before we get into election rules.
This is exciting.
Yeah. So we're going to try for our very first time to launch a radio prize giveaway. And the possible winners are going to be employees of community association management companies, right? Because we all know a community manager is either make it or break it. 18 months is kind of the time frame when they decide on whether or not they're going to stay in the industry or they're going to...
What you mean by that is that employees...
The lifespan of a community manager.
Managers who, say, maybe manage 7 to 12 associations for a management company, hardworking, super hardworking, and what you're saying is that, typically they will last in the industry around 2 years.
18 to 24 months.
That's the point. What I mean is they don't last 2 years, but at that point then they will determine whether they'll have it as a career or not. It's hard. It's difficult. There's a lot of politics involved. As being a community manager, you're dealing with a lot of politics in all the different associations, the board of directors, the homeowners, and everything. They're under the gun. They got to make sure they're on top of things. They got to make sure that if there's some legal issue, they go to
well, absolutely. We've heard of them, right? We've had people that have tried to convert the inside of their home into a synagogue. We've got a gentleman that has a swingers resort in Texas. We have a lot of issues in California where people decide that they want to get into the farming industry and cultivate.
What about that time machine thing?
The time machine. We had the people that put the Doctor Who toter time machine on their driveway. So
what you want to do is it's basically a shout out to community association managers. Go in and
employees
of
management companies. Right. So on the 27th, we're going to distribute from now until then 300 tickets.
June 27th.
June 27th on our show. We're going to give away 4 tickets to the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. We're going to give away 2 tickets to Raging Waters. We're going to give away some gift certificates to Golfland Sunsplash, Scandia. Maybe you're just the type that wants to make your own margaritas and sit by the pool. Hopefully not at a swingers resort, but your own home. And $25 gift certificate to Bevmo. All kinds of good stuff. So we're going to pass those out. We're going to do a live drawing on the air. And to win, you have to call. If you don't call, you don't win. So
what you're saying is it's a raffle.
Extravaganza.
That's it. So the managers, they pay money and they get a ticket?
Free. Free. You do not have to purchase anything.
There you go. So no purchase.
No purchase necessary. It's simply listen, call in, and win.
First of all, you're going to hand out tickets, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to go visit everybody.
You're going to give them tickets.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I'm going to bring them in.
A free raffle, right?
Free raffle.
Okay.
No buy, win. Who doesn't want something fun to do this summer for free?
All
so
right.
Wait, us 3 hosts, can we participate?
You can't participate.
Can Frank participate?
Frank cannot participate.
Who can participate? Only managers for associations.
Only community association managers or employees of community associations. There's a lot of assistant community managers, and there's a lot of people in the offices that work hard to make sure that they enhance and keep the board of directors and the community heading in the right direction.
Enhance and maintain the values of associations. Okay.
We want to reward them.
Let's talk about the Davis-Sterling Act in regards to election
rules.
All right. So election rules are very important. What we're talking about is these are for all different kinds of things that the owners vote on. We're not talking about votes by the board members. We're talking about votes by the individual owners.
I got a question, though. With your experience, how often do you see a large number of people engage in the voting process in the community? Or how many people just get the ballot, they push it to the side, and they have no desire or interest in checking the box and sending it back?
When it comes to money, like a special assessment, then you're going to get a big voter turnout. So
all right.
Well, the list of items is in Civil Code Section 5100. 5100. So this is the new Davis-Sterling Act, and there's 5 different items where a association must use the secret written ballot for an election. Election of directors, removal of directors, special assessments above 5%, or regular assessments above 20%, amendment to the CCRs and bylaws, and a vote to grant an individual owner exclusive use of common areas. So you have those different items where you must have the secret written ballot provisions. So you must use a mailed secret written ballot. You must use a inspector of elections. That's all within the election rules. However, let's say you have a CCNR provision, like most CCNRs, where you need to have a member vote
CC&Rs, Viana, can you just give a brief definition of that acronym for our listeners? Because we don't want to talk in industry code.
Right, and we always talk in acronyms. So if you don't know what CC&Rs are, there are conditions, covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
Covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
And you can get a copy of these if you're going to move into an HOA so that you understand everything that we're discussing.
I would argue.
You would argue.
And you guys, you can counter-argue. I would argue that CC&Rs, that term, quote-unquote CC&Rs, that is not a acronym that people are not aware of. That is the common layman's usage of a document.
How many
that
people on the
controls
street?
Associations. I think
we head over to the mall right now.
Yeah.
We go out there. We ask 10 people. We say, I want you to give us what is the acronym CC&R? What's the abbreviation?
I see.
How
I like
many people? How many people are going to hit that nail right on the head? I'm going to say less than 3.
All right.
3 out of 10.
I'd say 2.5.
2.5.
All right, you guys. I see where you're coming from. I would say that if you went to homeowners and asked them what CC&Rs mean, you're going to get 9 out of 10.
I bet you a lot of them go, that's that big folder the realtor gave me, and they said I should probably read it, and I didn't know I couldn't have 3 pit bulls. But yeah, that's the documents. I know what they are, but giving the exact name for the abbreviation or acronym, sure. I don't think you're going to win this one.
Yeah,
all right,
homeowners
Jonathan, you win.
I would say that fundamentally, everyone needs to know though that if you don't get the CC&Rs handed to you by the realtor, they're still binding on you because why?
Absolutely.
Because
they're a contract.
Because they're filed with the county recorder.
They're recorded.
They're recorded.
Constructive
and
notice.
Basically, when you buy into an HOA, you receive all of the governing documents and you're bound by them. It's
Viana, difference between CC&Rs and bylaws, right?
Yep, there's a big difference. And the CC&Rs, to easily identify them, they're usually the bigger document, and the bylaws are the smaller document. And the bylaws outline procedures for how to do certain things, while the CC&Rs outline the obligations and restrictions that owners and the association have.
Substantive versus procedural. Okay, but we digress. Coming back to election rules. So we have these provisions in the Davis-Sterling Act that says that you must use a mailed, written, secret ballot for elections of directors, removal of directors, assessment votes, amendments to the CC&Rs and bylaws, grants of exclusive use common areas. You don't need to use those secret written ballot for elections concerning capital improvement, loans, contracts. These are provisions in CC&Rs and bylaws.
Capital loans, improvements, and contracts.
Let me explain, Jonathan. Let me explain. So what you have is you have, I'd say about 9 out of 10 CC&Rs and bylaws say that in order for an association board of directors to make a capital improvement, that's build something.
Reconstruction.
No. It's distinguished from reconstruction.
What if you were going to put in like a car charging station or something like that?
Let's put that one aside.
Okay.
So let's say the association is going to build a fountain or a clubhouse in their common area. Well, most CC&Rs and bylaws will say, in order for the board to build something in the common area without a vote of the owners, it must be under 5% of the budget gross expenses for the fiscal year. So it must be a cheap amount. Right. What's 5% of the budget gross expenses?
Depends on the association.
Right. So let's say that it's $100,000. Let's put Jonathan on the spot. So it's $100,000.
You want 5% of $100,000. That's what you want me to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say $5,000.
Pretty close. Okay.
What is it?
We'll go with
Come on.
that. $5,000.
Yeah.
So if the board of directors wants to build something above that, they need to get the vote of the homeowners. This is a control. It's not in the Davis-Sterling Act. Or sometimes CC&Rs and bylaws will say in order for the board to get a loan or to do a long-term contract, they need to get a vote of the homeowners. That's not within the secret written ballot. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Nomination procedures, candidate qualifications, all the ins and outs of election rules.
Absolutely. And remember, Viana gave out that hot number, 888-923-1380. Give us a call. Try to throw a curveball at the HOA Brunch.
Capital Christian School invites you to become part of Cougar Power by joining Junior Cougar Football and Cheer. Junior Cougar is open to all families in the Sacramento community, not just Capital Christian students. They kick off the season with Fly Football Camp beginning June 15th. This camp is for ages 7 to 14. When it comes to football and cheer, Capital is where it's at. Your kids will experience an excellent program with qualified coaches. Sign up today at juniorcougarathletics.com. That's juniorcougarathletics.com.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and/or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com or 916-939-5026.
Hi, this is Rick Russo, owner of Russo Insurance Agency and Financial Services. We proudly serve Granite Bay, Roseville, Rockland, Sacramento, Lake Tahoe, and the surrounding areas. At Russo Insurance Agency, we like to say, get to know us before you need us. Our insurance agency is built on relationships and trust. If you want to be certain that your most valuable assets are insured correctly, allow us to give you more than just a 15-minute quote. For all your commercial, home, auto, and life insurance needs, call us today at 916-791-1901. That's 916-791-1901 or online at rickrussoinsurance.com. That's rickrussoinsurance.com. Thank you.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Okay, well, we're back. Well, thank you for still listening to us. We're talking about election rules, and we're still talking about the fact that there are certain things that boards must get the owners to vote on if they want to make decisions concerning capital improvements, loans and contracts, if the CCNRs and bylaws so provide. So a lot of board members, managers come to me and say, hey, I thought the Davis Sterling Act says that you need to get a vote of the owners in order to do a capital improvement above 5%, or to do a loan, or to do long-term contracts. And that, nope, it's not the Davis Sterling Act, it's contracts. So we've established that. And Viana, why don't you go ahead and talk about the fact about that there are certain provisions in the election rule law regarding nomination procedures, candidate qualifications. Can you go into that, please?
Yeah, so basically since July 1st, 2006, associations are required to adopt rules regarding elections, and they must integrate language from the relevant statutes and their CCNRs and bylaws. And the rules must include the following 7 issues, and we'll talk about
the
each one
Super
individually.
7.
The Super 7. So they have to have rules about nomination procedures, rules about candidate qualifications, and they have to have a method for selecting independent third parties as inspectors of elections, because elections have inspectors of elections. And they must adopt rules regarding access to association media during campaigns, and also access to the common area during campaigns. They must also adopt rules about secret ballot procedures and the ballot form.
So what you have is you have this requirement that's been around, as Viana said, since 2006, that associations must adopt election rules. The law was actually updated in 2007. Not that important. What is important is that every association must have election rules. These are operating rules, and in order for a board of directors to adopt election rules, they have to make sure that the election rules don't conflict with the law, the CCNRs, the bylaws. In other words, the board of directors probably can't make these election rules themselves. We believe that they must get counsel, right?
Right. So how can we make sure, how can we know for sure if a rule is enforceable, and how detailed can the rules be? So can they make any crazy requirements about candidates? Or, I mean, how do we know if the rule is enforceable?
Well, yeah, ominous question, Viana. I would say that the law provides that any kind of provisions in your rules about candidates, nominations, qualifications, that is in the governing documents, not in the corporation, not in state law. So, this, again, the state law is Davis Sterling Act. In addition, though, you have the Corporation Code for nonprofit mutual benefit corporations. And what they provide is any kind of qualifications that you want to put on people to be board members, they must be in your governing documents. And it actually says the bylaws. But so we have election rules too, which so you, in order to determine who is qualified to be a nominee, then you look to not the Davis-Sterling Act. You look to the bylaws and the election rules. Jonathan, you had a thought? You want to finish?
I do have a thought. I know that everybody likes to stay hip in the times, right? A new app comes out every hour, some social media site. Now, in relation to homeowners associations, all of these important rules, election rules, how often should a board of directors take advantage of revising these documents to hopefully progress, what they have in regards to elections, so that they have, so that they're up to date with, okay, you need to make sure that you don't have any delinquencies personally on your association dues, or what do you think, Bianna? How often should they update their election rules? That's my question.
Okay, so I think probably every few years. The election procedures aren't going to change much from year to year, but probably every 2-3 years, take a look at them and see if maybe sometimes when you draft election rules, you can't think of all possible issues that may arise or things that could become problematic. So once you carry out an election or two using your new rules, you may see that you actually need to do something.
Maybe tweak them a little bit.
Yeah, tweak them a little, amend them, take something out. Maybe they're too strict, maybe they're too broad, and then you have problems. So maybe every 2-3 years, take a look at them and not necessarily revise them, but at least look at them carefully and see if your elections are going smoothly.
Okay. All right. Does that sound like the man with 20 years of industry experience would concur that you probably
Brad
every
agrees with everything I say.
every 3 to 4 years you might want to just take a glance at your election rules and see if there's been any previous elections that have provided some new information that you might want to tweak the rules a little bit to stay current.
Oh, definitely.
Every
definitely.
few years.
Concur. Yeah, I concur.
Right. So in order for a rule to be enforceable, an operating rule to be enforceable, we have to make sure that the rule is not in conflict with governing law and declarations or articles of incorporation, and that we also have to make sure that it's reasonable.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
That seems like one of those terms that could be very broad.
Yeah, forgive me if you mentioned this already, but in order for a board of directors to adopt election rules or to change their election rules, you need to go through the rule-making process, which is the board of directors needs to send out the proposed rule or rule change to the owners 30 days before a board meeting. At that board meeting where the board is intending to adopt the rule or rule change, board of directors must allow owners to comment on the rule, and the board of directors then at that board meeting can go ahead and adopt any changes to the proposed rule, send it out within 15 days. So a process.
Yeah, and this is old school, right? It comes in the mail, you feel it in your hands, you get the old pen out, and you decide how you're going to vote for any rule changes or anything like that? No.
Negative.
No.
You set me up. That was a softball. So what happens is that the board of directors needs to send out the rule or post the rule. They could actually post it in the common area. They could post the rule, and then 30 days later, though. So it's a provision that provides that board of directors, they can go ahead and make the rule change without a vote of the owners, but the owners can comment on it.
They could chime in.
Right. So let's talk about nominations. I'm really excited about this because in HOAs, you'd think that there's tons of volunteers wanting to be on the board. So how do you get nominated?
By one of your peers?
Well,
how about that?
Board members, or rather candidates, right? Candidates are allowed to nominate themselves, and the association may not prohibit owners from nominating themselves. So this is in the law. This is the Davis-Sterling Act. I'm going to mention, we like to mention the civil code sections throughout, right?
Throw some numbers out there.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll win the lotto.
5105. I'm still trying to get used to them after using the old section numbers.
They keep
for
changing
so many
them, right?
years. They don't keep changing them. Again, another softball question by Jonathan. This is the first time they've changed them ever. So original, now changing. And so effective a year ago, a nomination or election procedure shall not be deemed reasonable if it disallows any member from nominating himself or herself for election to the board. This is important. These are the practical issues that arise when a board of directors is trying to run an election in a nice, fair, and reasonable way.
No electronic balloting, right? Just to throw that out there.
Again, good question. Not yet. So I don't think... Yeah, I remember. We had it on a couple shows ago.
That's it.
There is nothing in the there's no bills, right? There's no Senate bills, Assembly bills that are going to provide for electronic balloting yet.
No
I want to
hot
make that my
bills.
mission. I feel like we're so behind the times that
Who would you go to?
Can't
Biana,
do it,
if you wanted
Biana.
to
Don't do
get
it.
a bill to pass. What for the community association?
Yeah, if
Who
you
would you
wanted,
go to,
you'd
Jonathan?
probably deal with the boys down at CLAC and girls, boys and girls. Yeah, so the California Legislative Action Committee, maybe give old Skip Dom a call.
For
Yeah.
CAI, right? Everyone, there's claques for all kinds of different organizations, but the CAI has a claque.
Exactly.
And the Davis-Sterling Act does not require nominations to be written, so that's important too, because a lot of times people think that you have to have that in writing. But the association's governing documents may require that a nomination is written. So if an association wants to implement that rule, you can have that. But if not, you can just stand up and say, "Hey, I nominate myself to run for the board."
Well, you can only nominate yourself, though, if you meet all of the qualifications, right? I can't be the guy that gets fined every other month and go, I pay my fines, but I still break the rules, and I still want to run for the board because I have an agenda. We want change in this association.
Okay, so great segue, Jonathan.
No, but I mean, really, right? You have to be qualified. What qualifies you? What disqualifies you?
Right. What exactly? And where do we find these qualifications? Well, let me just mention also, I know some of our listeners are probably thinking, what's going to happen in our fourth quarter because we're not going to have Battle of the Board members
We didn't want to
week.
steal the spotlight for the NBA Finals and the Warriors and all the hype in Northern California, so we just eliminated our big game for the week, and we're going to let it be.
Yeah, what happened is one of our contestants got laryngitis, so I called her up, and I could barely even hear her. And actually, halfway through the conversation, I realized it was someone other than who I thought I was speaking with. I thought it was a manager for one association in Modesto, and rather it was a board member up here.
You must have been multitasking, maybe, I'm thinking.
Never. And so, unfortunately, we're not going to have Battle of the Board members, our favorite thing to do each week. So we're not going to have that. We will have it again next week. Next week, also, we're going to have on the show Morgan Fussell, yes?
Morgan Fussell, yeah.
With
broadband agreements, right? Morgan Fussell with broadband agreements. You'll hear his ad. He's a sponsor of the show, and he does great things for community associations. So I'm excited about having Morgan in the studio.
Right. So speaking of qualifications, what are some of the typical qualifications for board members? We mentioned that they have to be qualified to run. So usually they have to be a member of the association. So somebody from the outside of the association or a tenant cannot just show up and run for the board.
Check.
They have to be a member in good standing. So what
Check.
does that mean? Usually it means that you're not behind on any assessments. You haven't violated, you're not in violation, you don't owe us a lot of fines.
You're an
not behind
upstanding member.
assessments. You're an upstanding member of the community. And usually you have to be a resident in the community. Some associations don't require this. I actually know a couple that have non-resident owners run for the board. So people drive in from out of town, they own a home in
But
the
they
community.
do own in the association.
Yeah, they
That's
do own
great.
an
Yeah,
association.
I can't because I really don't see that. I'd see someone walking by and going, that looks like a community I want to help out.
You
Let
know
me get
what,
on the
though?
board.
Let's answer that question. Where do we find these qualifications? Can a tenant or just someone off the street run for a board of directors? Let's answer that when we come back, right?
We will answer it when we come back. Fourth quarter coming up. Frank's doing headstands in the back.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and/or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com or 916-939-5026.
The challenges presented by today's economy and rebounding housing market is forcing many homeowners association boards of directors to operate their HOAs more like a business. It's a balancing act of trying to stay solvent and still provide homeowners with quality amenities and services. One of the main challenges HOA boards are facing is attempting to recover unpaid HOA fees owed by delinquent homeowners. Collection efforts are often very time-consuming. If you want to get the HOA fees collection monkey off of your back, call ATC Assessment Collection Group. ATC is an attorney-supervised collection company, providing collection and foreclosure services to HOAs in both California and Nevada's most recognizable communities. Get back to what you actually volunteered to do as an HOA board member. Effectively oversee your community. Call ATC today at 916-641-1410. That's 916-641-1410. Online at atcacg.com. That's atcacg.com. ATC Assessment Collection Group.
News, opinion, insight. AM 1380. The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Back for the fourth quarter. You left us with a little bit of a teaser there for some...
Yeah, hey, guess what? I'm going to be speaking on drought with a leading industry landscaper for a management company at the end of the month.
Really?
And anyone who wants to come and listen to this, it's going to be a seminar. There'll probably be about 50, 75 board members there that you can mingle with, and a management company, and that management company is one of our favorites, Management Trust,
Cokel, the Management Trust, right up there in Folsom, California off of Creekside, huh?
Let us know. Give us a call or email us, what have you, and we'll get you into that seminar. So the question is, can anyone be on a board of directors? Can they just come off the street? Can it just be, as long as you get the votes, can you be on it? You have to look to the bylaws. That's what the law provides, the nonprofit mutual benefit corporation law. Go ahead, throw it out.
I want to throw it out there just because this always happens when we get into this close to elections and things like that. Is there a minimum amount of money that you can use for your campaign funds? I mean, can I say, you know what, I'm going to go down to Kinko's, I'm going to spend $5,000 on myself because I'm running for vice president of XX association?
Yep, you can do that. If you want to spend $1 million,
I can get as much
election,
campaign funding as I want, just so that I can make sure that I just push through and I get all those votes.
Are you really asking us if there's campaign funding limits?
I really wanted to
HOA
know.
board of directors?
You know, I'm sure there's some pretty high-profile HOAs out there, right, in Southern California, the Bay Area, even maybe up at like the Tahoe Keys or something like that, you know, where it might get a little bit competitive when you're running against maybe that neighbor who has a barking chihuahua that you hate. So,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I wanted to throw it out there.
You know, they are very contested elections. There's usually thousands of volunteers wanting to run for the boards. You're going to have to...
Speaking of which...
I sense some sarcasm.
Speaking of which, there's the Friars Village Homeowner Association v. Hansing. So put in your computer Friars, Friars Village. In this case, it was very contentious. Heck, you guys, this situation got all the way up to the Court of Appeals. There was a lot of money spent on this court case.
How much money?
And that's the Maxwell maxim, right?
Right.
That is the tail wags the dog. Pretty soon that you've spent so many attorney's fees on a case that you got to continue through to see if you're going to win or not. So
got to get the result.
What this case provided was that a board of directors could adopt a rule that prohibited spouses or cohabitants from both being candidates and being on the board at the same time. And bottom line of that case, right?
Yeah, and why would you want to do that? Why would that make sense for an association to not want spouses to be on the same board of directors?
Well, because there's certain rules and limitations on when and how you can communicate, right? So if hubby and wife, they technically shouldn't be talking about. They shouldn't be talking about any of the private information regarding the association together, right? Technically, they can't, right? There's certain rules and ramifications of when you discuss information regarding the whole community as associated, you know?
Pretty close.
Pretty close. You know, that's what...
That is it. If a quorum of the board speaks about association business, that's considered...
A meeting.
Right?
Yeah,
So
they can't have their own meetings.
So if you have husband and wife, what the court said is well, first of all, what the court had to analyze was whether a board of directors can make a rule about qualifications or must they go ahead and make a bylaw amendment with the vote of the owners? So it's a rule that board of directors can go ahead and do versus getting a vote of the owners. And the court said, let's go ahead and fine. It is okay to do that. And
I want to give a shout out to our girl Deanna that's listening. Deanna just texted me on the text line. She says she's loving the show, so I just wanted to give her a shout out. We're allowed to do that. It's our time.
That's
so
nice,
Deanna, enjoy yourself. You're probably out by the pool having a cocktail, enjoying your Saturday morning.
One of the best managers ever.
Excellent lady.
A hardened
Husband
veteran.
cooks a mean lamb.
A hardened veteran. And so, that was a big deal in this case, is how in the world can a board of directors go ahead and make a qualification for who can be on the board without doing a bylaw amendment?
Tell me.
And the court said it's fine. And what the court said is, in particular, doing this kind of rule. And the rule was that no spouses or cohabitants can be on the board at the same time or be candidates at the same time. They said because
we have our knives out.
It provides that it will eliminate conflicts of interest.
Okay.
Right? Just, I guess, too much power in a small part of the board of directors, husband and wife, spouses, cohabitants, things like that.
Yeah, I think that, that's a good idea.
So what about excluding candidates? Once candidates nominate themselves or are nominated by someone else, can the board then just make a decision to disqualify
Yeah, we're
them?
not going to let you run because we don't like that you drive a BMW.
Well, I don't think that's the reason why they could disqualify a candidate. But they can disqualify candidates if they do not meet the qualifications. So the requirements we talked about before, and some of the requirements are usually being a member of the community, a member in good standing, sometimes being a resident, maybe two spouses running. If there's one of the election qualification rules is that no spouses can run at the same time.
No Raiders fans, things like that.
I'm not sure that you can be as discriminatory or
sports
arbitrary
teams?
as that.
Okay.
But, if there's a good reason why a candidate does not meet the qualifications, the association can certainly disqualify them from running.
Yeah. Bear in mind that in many associations, they have a hard time getting people to run for the board.
I don't understand it because there's a lot more there are a lot more people, right, that are living in these associations, a lot of members, not people. Okay, there's
example,
community members
right?
that are living in these associations. There's, for an example, 200-unit condominium association. Pulling teeth for a community management company to get 3 people to run for the board. But then when those 3 people fine members living in the association for breaking the rules, there's an uproar, right? It's almost like it's crazy.
Well, yeah, right. So you have a condominium association, say you have 100 homes, and a typical board of directors will be either 5 board members or 3 board members. These board members are elected as volunteers to the board of directors.
Enhance the community.
And they're not paid anything. It's a completely volunteer job. But when you're on a board of directors, what you're doing is you are protecting, in most cases, the biggest investment that you will have. It's your home. So it's not only an investment, because we know the values of homes will go up. The values of homes will go up eventually through this cycle, and they are. But it's also quality of life. And it's important. Well, what did we talk about last week? Community, right?
Community, right?
This great sense of where I live is more than just making money when I sell it, but quality of life.
Barbecues, swimming with the neighbors, looking out for any riffraff that might be passing through the community.
Right.
Working together as a whole to paint a beautiful portrait, right?
Yeah.
That curbside appeal, white picket fence, fresh coat of paint.
Yeah, Joe Price, he was last week, the great CEO.
I wonder how his softball team's doing today.
With
Associa.
He was able to really, as you put it, paint a good picture of what that means to build community in your association. Joe Price, he did a really good job about that. So the idea is, well, do you want to have term limits? Do you want to make it difficult for boards of directors, for candidates to be board of directors? You want to really
how
consider
bad
that.
do you, I mean, really, if you think about it, I think there's a lot of people, this is just my personal opinion, I haven't been in the industry long enough to write some big thesis on this, but I don't think enough people know about what it takes or what they could do to get more involved and run for a board of directors.
You know, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about election rules again in a couple of weeks. It's going to be part 2 because
our first to be continued episode.
And this was intended to be a 2-part show, so we will come back. What are we going to do next week?
Morgan Fussell. Broadband Agreements.
Broadband Agreements. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you
Good
guys for
guy.
listening.
Viana, thank you so much for the knowledge.
You're always welcome, Jonathan. Any knowledge I can impart.
Yeah, I'll see you on Monday.
Stay safe out there and take care of yourself in this balmy weather.
Listeners, thanks for listening. I want to apologize to any of our listeners. I was out of the office this week, and I promised you, those listeners who we got a bunch of calls and said I need to get back to them, I will get back to them this week.
Have a great Saturdays. Go Warriors.